Hello, everyone. This is Ifama Odunlami, immigration attorney from the Odunlami Law Firm in New Jersey. My law firm serves clients in all 50 states, and that is because immigration is federal law. So even if you don't live in New Jersey, I can still help you, okay? So the purpose of my videos is to inform and empower my fellow immigrants. I'm an immigrant myself, so I know where you are. I've been there. And back then, many, many years ago, we didn't have Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. So we weren't able to get this information that you're getting. So this information is to inform you so that you make the right choices. It's to inform you so that you're empowered with the knowledge so that you don't fall prey to notarios or this visa agencies that keep encouraging people to put wrong information in their applications, and these wrong information subsequently becomes so problematic for uh, for the immigrants. And guess who gets in trouble? The immigrant, not the visa agency, not the person who filled out the paperwork, not the person who encouraged you to do certain things. So it is important for you to understand what the law is currently, so that you know what your options are. And then I always encourage people to talk to an attorney, because whatever I say here does not take the place of a proper consultation. Cases can turn on very small facts, so you want to talk to an attorney to make sure that the law applies to you or the exception applies to you. So I was thinking, there was this case consultation I had, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, and it was a potential U visa case. So U visa case is a case where victims of certain crimes, which are itemized in the by the United States government, can get a green card, right? So this crime would have been one that would have given her a green card, and she had no other chance of getting this green card except for this U visa. And she came to my office actually for something else, but we found out about the crime that she suffered. She had been stabbed um, by her boyfriend. And so um, this happened a long time ago. So she thought that, she wouldn't qualify for anything, but U visa doesn't have a statute of limitations. So if you've been a victim of a crime and you have been helpful to the police, either by filing a police report or whatever, you may qualify for a U visa. So we were really excited for her, because this was a way for her to get a U visa, regardless of the way she came into the country, regardless of all the immigration violations that she had incurred, until we found out from the police, when we contacted them to fill out the certificate of helpfulness, that she had withdrawn she had basically withdrawn her case. She refused to press charges. Now, this boyfriend was subsequently, sentenced without her help, because the state can go ahead and prosecute a case without the help of the victim. So he still got punished, but because she didn't assist the police, because she didn't want to press charges, we couldn't get her a U visa. So if she had known, because she was very young then, I can imagine that, part of the abuse was, forcing her not to press charges, because she was with him that time. They had a baby together. And that's probably part of it. But if she knew, maybe she had listened to a video such as this, or maybe if somebody had told her, I heard that you can get this, she might have thought twice about not pressing charges, because so that is costing her. I also have clients who come here who, they fill out forms to maybe for a green card. They don't put their children's names, and then they want to naturalize. And at this point, it's a problem, because that could actually get their green card taken from them because of the misrepresentation and fraud. And there was no reason not to put their children's names there, but for bad advice. So these videos I give are really for information and empowerment, and then when or somebody who's been through this, forward the video to them so that they can learn, and they can know that they're not alone in their situation. They need to know that there's a relief for them. So I'm going to go back to talk about VAWA, Violence Against Women's Act. And the reason I'm talking about this is because over the weekend, there was some news about a gospel singer who was killed by her husband, right? And apparently she had been suffering abuse for a long time. And then there's another story about a guy in Florida who was killed by his girlfriend. So I wanted to talk about abuse, right? Abuse doesn't just start on the day the stabbing or the act that constitutes the physical abuse. That's not the day it starts. There's a period, there's a grooming period. It usually starts with verbal abuse, psychological abuse, maybe financial abuse. It doesn't usually start on that day that that event happens. And luckily for us, the United States government recognizes this. And that's the reason why you can prove abuse and get a VAWA petition filed without evidence of physical abuse. So let me say this again. You do not need to have physical abuse to be able to prove that you're suffering, you're being abused by your spouse, right? Or that your child is being abused, or as a parent, you're being abused by your US citizen child who's over 21. There doesn't have to be physical abuse. And that's what we're going to talk about today, right? The different types of abuse. So let's talk about psychological abuse, right? And I'm going to talk about this, the lady who was killed by the gospel singer who was killed by her husband. Now, I don't know her personally, but reading the news and reading the comments, apparently this man was so controlling. He would not let, if she, sometimes she wanted to sing the gospel songs in a different language, and he would insist she sing it in the language that he wanted. He would take her money when she would earn it and give her an allowance from the money she earned. He would refuse to allow her to go to engagements. That's control and that's abuse. See, if she lived in the United States and she needed to file to get a green card, she could have gotten a green card through VAWA. And like I said, that behavior, that pattern of behavior had been there. There probably was a lot more going on, yelling, screaming. Some people said they had heard him, been yelling at her, in public, embarrassing her in front of people. Now that she's dead, everybody has a story to tell. But back then, nobody got involved. And some of that is cultural, some of that is also religious, because, the Christian faith, some of people believe that divorce is wrong. And so you have to stay in a bad relationship. I want to tell you that that's not true. Not for the Christian faith and not for the United States government. United States government does not want you to be in a relationship where you are in fear of your life, in a relationship where you feel that you're walking on eggshells, in a relationship where you're threatened. And so let me go through some of this. This is not dispositive, but just some of the types of behavior that qualifies as extreme cruelty. So it doesn't have to be physical battery. It can be extreme cruelty. So if you have a spouse, and I'm going to talk, it could be a spouse, or it could be a parent who has been abused by their spouse, by their US citizen child, or it could be a child who's been abused by US citizen parent or green card holder parent. So I'm talking about this generally for all this category. So if you have somebody who's a US citizen or green card holder who's smashing things when they're angry, right? That's psychological abuse. That makes you afraid. Or they're using your immigration status against you to gain power, threatening you with calling ICE, threatening you with calling the police, threatening you with withdrawing your case if they filed it, threatening you with not showing up for the interview, threatening you with not filing the case if there's been an agreement to file the case. I'm going to put on the comments so that if you have any questions afterwards, we can discuss it. So, or, threatening to withhold your children. Maybe you have children, they can tell you that they're going to have you deported and you're not going to see your kids, or even threatening your pet, All of this is not physical harm, but it's emotional, it's psychological abuse, it's abuse. And if you're from a country where this is not considered abuse because it's not physical, you may not know that it's abuse. So hence this video, send it to anybody who you know or who you suspect is in a relationship that's abusive. Okay. Now, if the person is isolating you from your family, from your friends, controlling your going out, you're coming in, wanting to check your phone, accusing you of cheating nonstop, showing up to your place of work to embarrass you, forcing you to hand over your password of your phone. When you speak your language, they tell you you cannot speak your language, even though they know that your family members do not speak English. That's all part of psychological abuse. There's also verbal abuse. They're calling you names, insulting you, shaming you, body shaming you, telling you you're not good enough, and you owe them because you're married to them and because they're filing papers for you. Or they attack your physical appearance. They embarrass you on social media. They send you abusive texts. That's all abuse. All right. There's also financial abuse. And this goes with when the person refuses to let you work, or they make you work when they know you have no papers, or they stop you from getting an education that they know can better you, right? Or they spoil your credit, or they deny you access to the family income. They take your money and they give you a little amount of money like an allowance, or you guys get money from taxes and they take everything and tell you, they're not giving it to you, and there's nothing you can do about it because they're the reasons why you can work, therefore the money belongs to them, right? And you feel you have no say, right? It's also abuse where you have a spouse who is um, cheating on you. Cheating itself is not abusive, but it depends on the way it's done. Are they putting you at risk of an STD, right? Are they forcing you to partake in sexual activities that you don't want to partake in? Are they raping you? You don't want to have sex and they're forcing you, right? There can be rape in a marital relationship, right? Are they forcing you to, are they telling you you owe them sex because of the fact that they're filing an immigration petition for you, right? There's also, abuse where the person puts you in danger, right? They leave you in places where you could get yourself in trouble, or they leave you without food, money, and just disappear because knowing fully well that you're relying on them for food and money, right? So there are different ways that immigrants are being controlled because of their immigration status. So basically, if you're in this type of relationship, you do not need to stay in it. That's what you need to know. And you know the reason why you do not need to stay in it? Because your abusive partner will never know if you file VAWA, because VAWA is confidential. They won't know and they will not get into trouble. So the United States is not interested in pursuing them for acts of, whatever it is they've done to you, right? They're just interested in making sure that you get your green card so that you can empower yourself. And the first step to empowerment is, excuse me, you get your work permit, which allows you to work. Excuse me. I need to drink some water. So once you're able to work, you'd be amazed at the freedom you feel. Now, there's nothing that requires you to stay in this marriage, nor does it require you to leave the marriage, because sometimes people who are being abused are not able to immediately leave that relationship for many reasons. But knowing that you have a secret petition going on that's going to give you your freedom, it puts things in perspective. So even though the abuse is not physical, emotional abuse can kill the spirit, you know. Sometimes when a client comes, a potential client comes and I do a consultation, I can feel the trauma, you know. Sometimes they don't even want to talk about it at that time. But when a US citizen or a green card holder is responsible for filing paperwork for you, it gives them a lot of power, and that's the power that puts you in a position of being abused, and that's why the United States government is allowing you to self petition. So this is a petition you file for yourself. You don't need to have an affidavit of support filed by anybody. You only need to show that, number one, it's a bona fide marriage, it's a real marriage. You really got married to this person because you wanted to spend your life with the person. That you, number two, at some point in the past you've lived together, doesn't matter how long or how little. Then we have to show the abuse, whichever way it is, physical, extreme cruelty. It's actually what it's called. So it's either physical abuse or extreme cruelty. And it may be one or more of this different factors, okay? And then you have to show that you're a person of good moral character, all right? And even if you're not a person of good moral character, talk to when I say that, I mean maybe you've had some encounter with the law. Talk to an attorney who might be able to file a waiver that allows you to proceed with the VAWA case. And you can file a VAWA case at any point of your immigration filing, or even if you haven't had any immigration filing. So if your spouse filed for you and didn't show up, you can still file a VAWA case. If your spouse files for you and it's still pending, you can still file a VAWA case. If your spouse refuses to file for you, even though you've been married for so long, you can still file a VAWA case. And you can file a VAWA case anytime. You don't have to file it after you've been married a certain amount of time. So this information should give you a lot of hope and a lot of power, because it tells you that you can actually take control back over your life to some extent, right? And even if you're in deportation proceedings, you can file VAWA. Even if you've been ordered deported, you can file VAWA. So if you know somebody who is in an abusive relationship, please send this video to them. Let them know, right? Subscribe, share, like, so that people know, get this information. So let me talk to Steve Miller. Hi, Steve. Steven says, good morning. Is the spouse of a green card holder considered an immediate relative? No, Stephen. The spouse of a green card holder is not an immediate relative. An immediate relative is spouse of a U.S. citizen, parent of a U.S. citizen who's over 21, the U.S. citizen is over 21, and the child of a U.S. citizen under 21. The child is under 21, okay? All right, that was a good question. So, all right, that's my talk for today. I felt called to have this conversation because I was just so sad about this gospel singer that was killed. So, I mean, so much going for her, so much talent. The writing was on the wall, so many people that failed her, you know, and it just very, 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 very sad. And so if you're in the United States and you're married to a U.S. citizen or a green card holder and you're in an abusive relationship, there's hope. You can get your papers without your spouse. If you're the child of a U.S. citizen or stepchild, and when I say stepchild, the marital relationship between the step parent and the biological parent must have taken place before the child turned 18. You can file VAWA, right? And even if you're divorced from your spouse, you can still file VAWA as long as you file the VAWA petition within 2 years of the divorce. And for a stepchild or a child, it does not matter. You do not have to file, even if your parents are divorced, the new law says that you can still file VAWA, okay? So let's see. So Stone Sterling says, good morning. Hi, Stone, how are you? He says, how many years someone can get a green card through VAWA? So there are two processes that go on in a VAWA petition. So the first step is the VAWA application itself. Typically, most people file a VAWA and an adjustment of status at the same time, right? The VAWA petition itself is taking 24 to 29 months, right? But during that time, you'll get your work permit. You'll get your advance parole that allows you to travel. So that even though you're waiting for the VAWA petition to be approved, you're able to, continue to live life outside of the shadows. You can come out of the shadows, okay? Now, once the VAWA petition is approved, the case is taken to the field office, is transferred to the field office for an adjustment of status interview. The adjustment of status interview is what gives you the green card. So now that adjustment of status interview depends on the field office and their, I guess, their calendar, right? So I would tell you that if you're filing a VAWA petition plus adjustment of status, you should look at it taking about 2 to 3 years, I would say, okay? All right, so I'm going to sign off, get back to work, but I will try and come back again tomorrow. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, and like my channel, and whenever I come on, you will be notified. All right, take care, and everyone have a great week.